Marcus Adeyemi stood at the podium under the glaring lights of the packed auditorium in Ikeja, Lagos. His dark skin glowed beneath the spotlights, the hush of the crowd pressed in on him like tidal waves of expectation. As a former secondary school teacher, Marcus had a way with words. His voice carried the warmth of evening drums, the clarity of a preacher's sermon, and the quiet authority of someone who truly believed his own message. "Fellow Nigerians," he began, pausing to let his deep baritone settle into the ears of every listener, "we deserve leaders who walk among us, who know our struggles, who carry our wounds as their own." A ripple of applause swept through the audience. Cameras flashed. His heart pounded, not from fear, but exhilaration. Just 2 years ago, Marcus was in a cramped classroom, adjusting his tie before morning lessons on Shakespeare. His voice now echoed across arenas, replayed in viral clips that racked up millions of views overnight. His meteoric rise began with a single speech on educational reform, recorded on a handset by a student who uploaded it uncredited to the internet. The world watched as this unassuming teacher with a neatly trimmed beard and steadfast eyes called out corrupt bureaucracy and demanded justice for underfunded schools. "Education is the backbone of our future," he had said in that viral clip. "When our children learn in dilapidated buildings without textbooks, we deny them dignity, and we deny ourselves a tomorrow." The phrase "deny them dignity" went global. Within days, news outlets from Lagos to London carried his image. Political hopefuls courted him, grassroots activists hailed him as a hero. By the time he announced his candidacy for the State Assembly, there was already a long line of donors waiting to pledge support. "Marcus, you're not just running for office," his campaign manager, Kemi, had told him in a private briefing. "You're running to rewrite the story of the common man." Marcus had smiled shyly. He still felt surreal standing on that stage in Ikeja. He remembered the night before, pacing his small flat in Yaba, rehearsing speech fragments in front of a cracked mirror. Now, as the final clap died down, Marcus lifted his hand, palms open, soaking in the moment. He spotted his closest allies, his campaign's volunteer coordinator, and Adebola, a former union leader turned strategist, giving him triumphant nods. Yet his eyes searched the crowd for one face above all, Elara. Hidden in the back row, Elara Ojo wore a simple teal blouse and held a folded pamphlet of Marcus's platform. Her dark skin gleamed like polished ebony under the stage lights. She watched him not as the crowd did, but with the gentle pride of someone who knew the man behind the message. He caught her eye and offered a quick, grateful smile before continuing. Backstage, after the speech, Marcus peeled off his jacket, cheeks still flushed from adrenaline. Kemi patted his shoulder. "That was incredible," she said. "You've got the momentum now. The statewide polls close in 2 weeks." He nodded absently, thinking of early mornings in dingy classrooms, of chalk dust on his fingers, and of Elara's steady support. The world was shifting beneath him, and he was coming to believe that he could truly change it. Elara Ojo traced the golden pattern of Lagos's evening skyline through her living room window. Her husband's triumph earlier in the day played on muted television in the corner. She sat on their well-worn couch, fingers weaving through the fabric of the hand-stitched quilt she'd made for their wedding. A librarian at a local community center, Elara's world was books, quiet corners, and the whispered turning of pages. She adored stories of distant worlds but found her greatest narrative in the life she shared with Marcus. They met at a poetry reading 2 years earlier, him coaxing hesitant applause for a teenage poet, her encouraging shy smiles at the back table. That night, he had introduced himself. "I'm Marcus," he'd said, "a teacher by trade and a dreamer by heart." She had shrugged modestly. "I'm Elara. I curate dreams in books." Their hands had brushed, a spark passed through them like a secret current. Elara's role in Marcus's rise was hardly visible to the public. She managed his household when he traveled, calmed his restless mind before each speech, offered gentle critiques of his campaign literature. Behind every impassioned declaration was her midnight oil burnt over phrasing and structure. Marcus often credited his inner compass, but it was Elara who provided the steady north. That evening, she prepared Marcus's favorite meal, jollof rice with succulent grilled tilapia and a side of roasted plantains. He walked in, excitement still dancing in his eyes. She noticed the fine sheen of sweat on his brow, the slight tremor of his hands. "How is it?" she asked softly, handing him a cold glass of water. "Electrifying," he replied, sinking onto the couch beside her. "I could feel hearts opening. People are hungry for change, Elara." She smiled, brushing back a wisp of her tightly coiled hair. "You gave them hope, like you always do." He reached for her hand. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Shoo," she chided gently. "Save the thanks for your victory speech, when we actually win." They shared a quiet moment, the city lights painting long shadows across their modest home. To Elara, this was the true triumph, the warm glow of Marcus's gratitude and the gentle hum of their shared dreams. She had always believed in him, but tonight felt like a promise fulfilled. As Marcus's star ascended, the world around him transformed. The bustling rallies gave way to black-tie fundraisers in high-rise towers. The grassroots organizers in plain shirts and worn sneakers were gradually replaced by polished consultants in tailored suits. The halls he once walked in with comfortable familiarity now echoed with marble floors and crystal chandeliers. Marcus felt it too. He caught himself straightening his collar in reflective surfaces, smoothing creases in his jacket that had never bothered him before. Conversations shifted from policy debates to media optics. He found himself attending etiquette workshops and image consultations, dissecting every angle of his public persona. One evening, he joined an exclusive soiree hosted by a prominent business tycoon in Victoria Island. The wine flowed freely, laughter bubbled around him, and he found Selina Rossi at the center of it all, a vision in a sleek gold gown, flawless makeup accentuating her high cheekbones. A socialite known for her influence in both political and celebrity circles, Selina embodied the glamour Marcus had never experienced. "Mr. Adeyemi," she greeted him, extending a manicured hand. Her dark skin glimmered under the party lights, her smile calibrated and magnetic. "I hear you're the voice of a new Nigeria." He bowed slightly. "I hope to be." She leaned in, her perfume a heady mix of jasmine and sandalwood. "Come find me tomorrow. I would love to help your campaign reach even greater heights." After she melted back into the crowd, Marcus felt a tug of excitement, of possibility. He thought of Elara's gentle admonitions about staying true to his roots. But the glamorous world around him beckoned, promising influence beyond what he had ever dared imagine. That night, he called Elara from a sleek limousine. "I met someone who can boost our media presence," he said, voice hushed. Elara listened through the crackle of signal. "Media presence is good," she replied, "but don't let it change who you are." He sighed. "I know, my love. But sometimes, change is necessary to win." She was quiet for a moment. "Just don't forget why you started." Her words hung between them like a lifeline. The next afternoon, Marcus arrived at Selina's penthouse atop one of Lagos's tallest towers. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of the city below, an electric maze of lights and possibilities. Selina, impeccable in an ivory pantsuit, greeted him with champagne. "Welcome," she said, leading him past abstract sculptures and onto a balcony overlooking the lagoon. "You have a message that people want to hear. I can make them listen." She outlined a plan: exclusive interviews, red carpet appearances, and strategic placements in elite publications. Marcus nodded, torn between exhilaration and conscience. He envisioned the impact: more donors, more airtime, a rapid climb toward a seat in the National Assembly. As Selina spoke, her voice dipped into a sultry lullaby. She brushed a lock of her hair behind her ear, revealing a diamond-studded earring that caught the afternoon sun. Marcus felt a flutter in his chest, an unfamiliar hunger for approval from this new world. Then her tone shifted. "But alliances have costs, Marcus. Are you prepared to make them?" He swallowed. I'll do what it takes." Selina smiled, a slow curve of triumph. "Good. Because to win big, you have to be willing to lose something in return." He left feeling intoxicated with ambition and unsettled by the price of admission. The city lights seemed harsher now, shadows longer. As he descended the elevator shaft, his reflection splintered across mirrored panels, part idealistic teacher, part calculating politician. Back at home, Elara sensed the storm before it broke. Marcus arrived late, shoulders taut, eyeing her with restless energy. He dropped his campaign folder on the dining table and didn't notice her worry lines deepen. Elara, he began without preamble, I've decided to bring Selena on as a strategic advisor. Her breath caught. Selena, the socialite? The one from the penthouse? Marcus nodded. She has the connections we need. It's a small sacrifice for the greater good. Elara rose, voice trembling. Sacrifice what, Marcus? Because it feels like you're sacrificing me. He closed his eyes. It's not like that. I need the edge. She crossed the room, hands pressed against her sides. You promised me you'd never change the core of who you are. You promised to carry our story with you. He ran a hand through his hair. This is bigger than us. Her eyes glistened. It was always about us. Silence stretched between them. Marcus wanted to bridge it with words but found none. Instead, he turned away, staring out the window at the neon blur of Lagos night. Elara stood alone in their living room, heart heavy. The confident man who once paused every speech to glance her way now seemed distant, a stranger in his own life. She gathered the quilt from the couch and wrapped it around herself, as if to hold on to the fragments of their shared past. In that moment, she realized that love alone might not be enough to keep them together, and that ambition, once kindled, could consume everything in its path. The first crack had appeared, quiet but undeniable, and neither of them knew how wide it would grow. The Fleur-de-Lis fundraiser sprawled across the penthouse ballroom like a constellation of power and wealth. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic rainbows across sleek marble floors. Guests in tailored tuxedos and couture gowns drifted in murmured clusters, their laughter interwoven with the hum of opportunity. At the far end, Marcus stood beside a towering display of campaign literature, his posture polite but stiff. Every so often, he caught sight of Elara's lonely pamphlet pile, now dog-eared and gathering dust in his absence. Then Selena appeared, as if summoned by desire itself. Her gown was the color of burnished gold, it hugged her curves and shimmered with every breath. Dark curls framed her face, and her smile was a calculated delight. She approached Marcus, her heels whispering secrets on the marble. Marcus, she purred, slipping an arm through his. You look tense. Let me show you something special. Her words were honeyed, but her eyes burned with intent. She led him to a secluded rooftop terrace. The city lay beneath them in fractal brilliance, lights winking like distant stars. A waiter bowed with champagne. Selena poured 2 flutes and offered one to Marcus. To new alliances, she toasted, her voice soft and deliberate. Marcus lifted the glass, his breath catching. To progress, he replied, though a tremor laced his tone. Selena smiled and slipped closer. My dear Marcus, you have a message that resonates. But messages need reach, and I have the reach. Imagine your voice echoing not just through halls like these, but across continents, translated into dozens of languages. He glanced at her, heart thudding. I want that. For the people. Her hand brushed his, light, fleeting, yet electric. Then let me guide you. I'll open doors you never knew existed. He inhaled, intoxicated by the promise. What do you want in return? She set down her glass and tilted her head, gaze unwavering. Your trust. And perhaps something more personal, as a sign of our partnership. He realized the implication. She wanted him to sever ties with Elara, to show commitment. His chest tightened. I need to think. Selena's lips curved in a knowing smile. Of course. But remember, opportunity never waits. I'll be expecting your decision. As she chaptered back into the crowd, Marcus raised his empty glass toward the night sky. The distance between ambition and integrity narrowed with every heartbeat. He felt power surging in his veins, and a pang of guilt that he tried to ignore. Over the next week, Marcus's calendar transformed from school visits and community forums to whispered rendezvous and elite soirees. While Elara managed his home affairs, he slipped away into the night, drawn by Selina's magnetic pull. Their first clandestine meeting took place at the Ivory Room, an exclusive members-only lounge hidden above a nondescript building in Victoria Island. He entered through a discreet door behind a faux bookshelf, greeted by muted jazz and the scent of rare cigars. Selina waited at a corner table bathed in candlelight. "Welcome," she said, gesturing to a pair of plush velvet seats. "I've arranged a mock press conference for you, only select influencers, a handful of foreign correspondents. Pure optics, no substance yet. You'll be seen, heard, and envied." He settled in, nerves humming. "Is it that simple?" "Not simple," she corrected, "but effective. You speak for 5 minutes, talk about renewed vision, gratitude for supporters, your 40-year plan for education reform. Then you step down to personal photographs. Our team will handle the rest." He stared at her. "And Elara?" Selina's eyes bored into him. "She's a lovely woman, but this is your career. Sometimes, personal attachments hinder professional progress." He clenched his jaw. "I understand." After the meeting, an assistant passed him campaign mock-ups on glossy cardstock, posters with Marcus's face superimposed over triumphant crowds, headlines screaming Nigeria's new hope. He traced a finger over Elara's loyal but unglamorous script at the bottom, "With Elara by my side." Selina must have noticed. Later, she whispered, "We'll adjust that tagline to 'With vision by his side.'" Each secret meeting chipped away at Marcus's resolve. He found himself nodding more often, rationalizing that great change demanded great sacrifice. And so he continued to slip away into the night, his conscience a faint echo drowned by the roar of ambition. Meanwhile, Elara's world tilted. Marcus's lateness became habitual, supposed strategy sessions that stretched past midnight, vague excuses of meetings out of town. She went to the campaign office once, only to find Selina's logo plastered on every wall, Selina's team bustling with energy. She remembered the gentle teacher she married, not this polished politician dancing to someone else's tune. One afternoon at the community library, Elara confided in her colleague, Tund, between shelving returning books. "He's distant," she sighed, stacking a row of novels. "He barely looks at me anymore. Last night, he came home smelling of champagne and something floral." Tund paused, wiping his glasses. "You're worried he's getting involved with someone else?" She looked down. I don't know. I want to trust him, but I can't recognize him lately." Tund laid a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You two built this together. Don't lose yourself. Confront him." Elara nodded, heart pounding. But when she tried to speak with Marcus that evening, the words caught in her throat. He greeted her with a quick kiss, his eyes searching in frustration. "Elara, I'm trying to win an election," he said, voice tense. "I don't need an argument tonight." She bit her lip, tears brimming. "I'm not trying to argue. I just miss you." "I know," he murmured, brushing her hair back. "But you have to trust me." She studied his face, so familiar yet foreign. "I want to," she whispered. "I really do." But trust felt like a fragile thread, fraying with every secretive glance at his phone, every unexplained absence, every whispered conversation in rooms she wasn't allowed to enter. That night, Elara stood alone in the bedroom they once shared, now filled with campaign brochures and Selina's promotional swag. She sat on the edge of the bed, clutching their wedding photo, her in a lace dress, his arms wrapped around her like a shield. Quiet tears fell, each one a painful testament to a love seemingly slipping away. She remembered their vows, in laughter and in tears, "I will stand by you." How hollow those words felt now. She gathered her courage, wiped her cheeks, and reached for her phone. Her thumb hovered over Marcus's name. Call, she whispered to herself. Just talk. She instead sent a message, please come home. We need to talk. Minutes passed like hours. Then the screen lit, in a meeting. We'll call later. No timestamp, no empathy. Elara folded herself into the quilt, mind racing. She replayed every interaction, the way he'd flinch at her questions, the way he'd close his laptop as she entered the room, the way his smile at his new partner seemed warmer. She closed her eyes, passion and sorrow warring in her chest. At dawn, she rose and performed her morning ritual, bathing the small plant on the windowsill they'd nurtured together, preparing tea in their mismatched mugs, setting out a fresh loaf of bread for his return. Each act was a prayer to the man she loved, a prayer that never returned her devotion in kind. Later, she visited her favorite quiet spot in the community garden. Beneath a jacaranda tree, she poured out her heart to the sky. How did we get here? She whispered. When did ambition become greater than us? A breeze rustled leaves overhead, as if offering solace. She pressed her hand against her heart and vowed she would fight for their love. But first, she would need to face the truth she'd long tried to avoid. Selena's plan reached its apex at the Vision 2025 Gala, a glittering affair designed to showcase Marcus as the face of Nigeria's future. The invitation list read like a who's who of power brokers and media moguls. Cameras lined the grand staircase, every word, every gesture would be televised across major networks. Behind the scenes, Selena orchestrated every detail. The red carpet, the floral arrangements, her team ensured that Marcus's image would be seared into the public's memory. Yet she had one final stroke of genius: Elara would be publicly sidelined. As guests arrived, Marcus emerged in a perfectly tailored suit, Selena at his side, her hand resting possessively on his arm. The announcer introduced them as Marcus Adeyemi, with his esteemed strategic partner, Selena Rossi. Polite applause followed. Marcus glanced across the room toward where Elara stood, clutching her clutch bag, cheeks flushed. Elara's breath caught. She realized she wasn't introduced, wasn't given a place on stage, her role erased in plain sight. The crowd's eyes remained fixed on the golden couple, cameras panning to capture their every exchange. Selena leaned in, voice soft but triumphant. See how easily the world forgets the background players? Marcus swallowed, guilt knotting his throat. But Selena was already leading him up the stairs to deliver his keynote address. The bright lights and approving nods drowned out Elara's anguished expression. On stage, Marcus faced the audience, heart pounding. He caught a glimpse of Elara's trembling form in a mirrored panel. For a fleeting moment, he considered deviating from his script, acknowledging the woman who stood by him through obscurity and risk. But Selena's steely gaze from the front row silenced him. He lifted the microphone. Fellow citizens, he began, voice resonant. Today marks the dawn of a new era. Behind his polished rhetoric, a silent apology lingered, an echo of a love he was leaving behind. And in the gallery below, Elara's tears glistened under the chandelier glow, each one a testament to a vow betrayed and a heart forever changed. __. The grand zenith ballroom of the Lagos International Conference Center glittered like a constellation come to earth. Rows of crystal chandeliers spilled light across polished marble floors, every mirror and pane of glass became a glittering reflection of power. Security checks hummed quietly at the entrance, where well-heeled guests handed over invitations embossed in gold foil, Vision 2025, shaping Nigeria's tomorrow. Marcus descended the grand staircase in a midnight blue tuxedo, Selena at his arm in a gown the color of molten bronze. Flashbulbs popped in a staccato rhythm as paparazzi craned for the perfect shot of Nigeria's rising political star and his dazzling new partner. 5 minutes to showtime, murmured Selena, her breath warm against Marcus's ear. She flashed him a smile that glinted like a weapon. Just follow my lead, baby. He nodded, throat tight. His pulse drummed louder than the string quartet behind them. He spotted Elara near the back, her simple teal dress a stark contrast to the couture gowns around her. She stood alone, clutching her clutch bag, each click of his shoe heels across the marble a promise of the distance growing between them. A maitre d' led them to the red-carpeted stage, where a lectern bore the Vision 2025 logo. Under the glare of lights, Selena whispered final instructions: praise the donors, mention our shared vision, and swipe left on any sentimentality. Marcus swallowed. He glanced once more at Elara, whose face was calm but whose eyes shimmered with tears. Then he faced the crowd. "Good evening, distinguished guests," he began, voice collected but hollow. "I stand before you not as an individual, but as a symbol of what we can achieve together." His speech flowed with practiced eloquence: plans for schools, healthcare reform, youth empowerment. Cameras zoomed in on his confident posture, Selena's hand resting lightly on his back. When he finished, the applause thundered, but someone in the front row began to murmur. Marcus frowned as the crowd's gaze shifted behind him. There, ascending the staircase, was Elara, carrying a velvet box. Gasps rippled through the audience as she strode past stunned dignitaries and atop the stage, pausing directly behind Marcus. Light caught the emerald ring nestled in the box. Selena's triumph faltered, her lips tightening. Elara lifted the lid. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, voice clear and resonant, "I believe in Marcus's vision. But tonight, I present him this, our wedding ring, returned to me, to reflect that a leader's heart cannot be given away so carelessly." A stunned hush. Marcus's jaw dropped, Selena's composure cracked. Reporters fanned out, microphones thrust toward Elara. "Why now?" called one journalist. Elara replaced the ring and met Marcus's eyes. "Because integrity matters." Then, she turned and walked off the stage, leaving him breathless under the glare. Chaos erupted, cameras clicked, whispered questions trailed him, and Selena vanished into the crowd as if she'd never existed. Marcus stood alone at the lectern, the vision he'd so carefully crafted collapsing in an instant. The gala, intended to crown his ascent, had become the arena of his personal ruin. And the fatal wound was delivered not by his enemies, but by the woman whose quiet strength he'd underestimated. The morning after the gala, Lagos awoke to headlines screaming betrayal, scandal, and an unexpected hero. Every major paper carried Elara's image, serene, resolute, emerald ring in hand. The next chapter of Vision 2025 had begun without Marcus's consent. At the campaign headquarters, Marcus paced in a glass-walled office. His campaign manager, Kemi, entered with a stack of articles. "You need to see this," Kemi said, voice low. She placed the papers on his desk. Elara Ojo, former community librarian, was the anonymous donor behind this entire event. She funded it with a 200 million Nigerian nairas endowment from the Ojo Education Trust. Marcus blinked. I had no idea." Kemi handed him an envelope. "Here's the proof, signed contracts, bank transfers. The press has all the documents." He stared at the glossy photos of Elara in the Vision 2025 Gala program, credited as philanthropic patron. A pit opened in his stomach. "Why would she do that?" he whispered. "She could have stayed in the background, like she always did." Kemi shook her head. "She wanted to reveal that your campaign isn't just another political machine. She anchored it in genuine community investment." Outside, flashbulbs popped as journalists swarmed Elara at the community library. Microphones hovered near her lips like curious dragonflies. "Mrs. Ojo," one reporter asked, "why step into the spotlight now?" Elara, dressed in her teal blouse and simple skirt, met them calmly. "Because Nigeria needs leaders who remember where they came from. You cannot build schools if you abandon your community." Another shouted, "What does Marcus think of your revelation?" Elara paused, gaze distant. "He'll learn that true leadership is rooted in service, not strategy." Back in his office, Marcus sank into his chair. The spine-tingling hush of isolation pressed in. Scenes from the gala flashed in his mind, Selena's triumphant smile, the audience's gasps, Elara's graceful departure. He pressed his palms against his temples, heart pounding. Kemi's phone buzzed. It's Adebola and F, asking for a meeting. Marcus nodded. Tell them to come right away. When they arrived, Adebola, the veteran union leader turned strategist, spoke first. Marcus, you've underestimated Elara's influence. She's the driving force behind every success you've had. Without her, this campaign is just flash. F chimed in, eyes fierce. The public is with her now. They see her as genuine, you as calculated. Marcus closed his eyes. So what do I do? Adebola leaned forward. You've got two paths, humble yourself before her, or watch everything crumble. He exhaled slowly. I'll speak to her. As Adebola and F filed out, Marcus realized that this unveiling was his reckoning. Elara was no mere background figure, but the very soul of his movement. And he had a choice, to rebuild with humility, or forever lose the foundation she provided. By midday, the campaign office was a whirlwind of shifting allegiances. Volunteers huddled in clusters, debating with passion, donors withdrew pledges, rival politicians smelled blood in the water. Marcus wandered the halls like a ghost, phone pressed to his ear as he begged for understanding. Each call ended in polite sorrow, not loyalty. In the corner office, Kemi laid out a damaged schedule. Town hall in Ibadan is cancelled. TV appearance tomorrow has been rescheduled indefinitely. Everyone's asking, why didn't Marcus know his own partner was behind the gala? His chest felt raw, as if every breath scraped against exposed nerves. In that moment, the campaign that had been his ticket to glory became the cage that imprisoned him in shame. He sank into a chair while F, eyes blazing with anger and hurt, paced before him. You built your fame on Elara's words, F spat. You never once credited her publicly. You distanced her like she was baggage. And now look where it's gotten you. Marcus's voice caught. I was trying to win? F finished. At any cost. Even if it meant discarding the woman who believed in you first. A heavy silence followed. Marcus felt tears sting his eyes. What have I done? F shook her head. You've lost your way. That afternoon, Marcus drove through Lagos streets that once cheered his name. Instead, vendors spat curses, car radios blared talk shows mocking the teacher-turned-politician who forgot his roots. He passed billboards advertising Vision 2025, billboards now defaced with graffiti, Vision betrayed and where's Elara? He pulled over near the National Museum, stepping out into the scorching sun. His reflection caught in the museum's glass facade looked hollow, like an actor who'd forgotten his lines. He replayed every misstep, the whispered conferences while Elara waited at home, the invitation of Selena into his life, the cruel unveiling on stage. That evening, back at the empty campaign office, he sat alone in the dark. A single lamp cast long shadows. He opened a fresh email from a major donor. Dear Mr. Adeyemi, it has come to our attention that you permitted your campaign to be manipulated by outside forces. Until you fully acknowledge Mrs. Ojo's contributions and mend your approach, we cannot continue our support. The screen seemed to glow with finality. He pressed his forehead against the desk, a strangled sob escaping him. His world, once boundless, had collapsed into shards of regret. The foundations of his life were scattered at his feet, ambition, trust, pride, and above all, the quiet love of a woman he'd betrayed. Amid Marcus's turmoil, Selena watched from afar with keen satisfaction. Behind her rehearsed smiles and socialite facade lay a ruthlessness he'd never suspected. For months, she had played the seductive mentor, gaining his trust, steering his ambitions, and now she was ready to collect the final debt. One evening, Selena hosted an impromptu after-party at her loft on Awolowo Road. The guest list included influential journalists from both local tabloids and international news outlets. She greeted each with perfumed elegance, her laughter dripping like molasses. Marcus arrived, drawn by duty and the faint hope of salvaging his image. Marcus, she cooed, guiding him to a private alcove. I'm so sorry about Elara's stunt. But crisis is just opportunity in disguise. He forced a weary smile. I don't know how to turn this around. Selina placed a manicured finger on his lips. Let me help you. She slipped a tablet into his hand. Here, your personal phone records, campaign contracts, meeting schedules, all of it. I've prepared a press kit that shows you were unaware of Elara's funding, that you had nothing to do with the deception. It'll clear your name. Tears pricked his eyes. Thank you. She patted his hand. Anything for you, love. That same night, she slipped away to her private study. With practiced precision, she compiled an even more explosive dossier, screenshots of Marcus's clandestine texts to her, audio clips of him disparaging Elara, and proof that he had discussed sidelining his wife for political gain. Then, with a single keystroke, she released the dossier to top-tier tabloids and online forums. Morning headlines exploded, Marcus Adeyemi's secret affair exposed. Text messages reveal political betrayal. Ex-librarian left in the dark by husband's mistress. Social media buzzed with outrage. Memes of Marcus in a tuxedo with a broken heart and Selina's triumphant grin flooded feeds. When Marcus logged in and saw the headlines, his stomach turned to ice. He rifled through his inbox, messages from disgruntled constituents, outraged activists, and donors demanding explanations. A tweet from a major news anchor read, "Our sources confirm Marcus Adeyemi instructed his campaign to erase his wife's name from all materials. Is this the face of the new Nigeria?" He staggered to the mirror in his campaign office, barely recognizing the man reflected back, hollow cheeks, haunted eyes. He dialed Selina's number, once a balm for his anxieties, now an anchor pulling him deeper into despair. She answered on the first ring. "Morning, darling. Saw the headlines? Can you believe the betrayal?" He realized too late that she'd orchestrated this second wave of humiliation. "You set me up," he whispered, voice cracking. "Set you up?" She laughed softly. "I saved your career. You are a broken man, now at least you're trending." His heart pounded. This madness, why? She paused, then said, "Because in politics, you either hold the knife or you're its target. And sweetheart, I'm never on the blade." She hung up, leaving Marcus tremulous. He understood now that Selina's seduction had been the first strike, her betrayal, the final. His dreams lay in ruins, and the woman he once trusted most had become his greatest adversary. By mid-morning, the streets of Lagos hummed with fresh scandal. Commuters clustered around street corner TVs, watching pundits dissect every leaked message. Taxi drivers cursed Marcus's name, market women scrolled through tweets, shaking their heads. The public square had become his tribunal. Marcus arrived at the campaign office, once a hive of fervent energy, now a desolate shell. The reception desk was empty, volunteers had posted sticky notes apologizing as they left. His campaign banners, once bright and hopeful, hung limp like mournful funeral shrouds. Kemi stepped out of her glass office, eyes red from sleepless nights. "They've pulled all endorsements," she said softly. "Every single one." Adebola appeared behind her, arms crossed. "I spoke to the party leadership. They're distancing themselves. They don't want to be associated with this." He gestured to the swirling headlines visible on the lobby's TV screens. Marcus sank into a chair. The wood creaked beneath him. He folded his hands in his lap, tears pooling. "How do I repair this?" Kemi shook her head. "You can't. The damage is irreversible." Outside the office windows, a protest formed, placards reading "No more traitors, where's Elara, integrity over lies." A television crew filmed the crowds waving fiery slogans. A security guard approached, whispered something to Kemi. She turned and said, "You need to leave. They're demanding a public apology, and even then, it won't matter." Marcus stood slowly, legs unsteady. He walked through the lobby's open doors into the cacophony of jeers. A reporter thrust a microphone toward him. "Mr. Adeyemi, any comment on the affair allegations?" He swallowed. I have nothing to say. Will you apologize to Elara? Another shouted. He shook his head, silence deafening. He felt the weight of every eye, every phone camera pointed at him. Somewhere in the throng, he heard Selena's laughter echoing in his mind. That evening, he returned to the empty apartment he and Elara once shared. Dust motes danced in slanted lamplight. On the dining table lay the velvet box with the returned ring. He picked it up, turning it over in his hand, the memory of her voice, integrity matters, aching in his chest. He sank onto the couch, clutching the ring as if it were his last lifeline. The day's humiliations pressed in, the loss of his campaign, his reputation, his allies, and most of all, the woman who had loved him quietly through it all. In the silence, he understood the final truth, that ambition wielded without honor destroyed everything it touched. And now, standing amid the ruins of his public life, Marcus Adeyemi realized he had only himself to blame, and that some mistakes could never be undone. The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of the newly inaugurated Ojo Community Center, casting warm rectangles of light onto the pale blue walls. Elara stood at the front of the room, dressed in a smart white blazer over a simple navy dress, her dark skin radiant with purpose. Behind her, volunteers unpacked boxes of textbooks and school supplies, donations she had personally solicited from local philanthropists and small business owners. The air buzzed with excitement and gratitude. A soft murmur rippled through the assembled community members, teachers, parents, and curious children gathered for the unveiling ceremony. Mayor Adebanjo, a gruff but well-meaning official, tapped his microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, today we witness not just the opening of a building, but the dawn of a brighter future for our youth. And it is thanks to one remarkable woman. He paused, sweeping his gaze over the crowd until it landed on Elara. Applause broke out. Elara stepped forward, heart swelling. She looked out at the faces before her, faces she had known long before her husband's fall from grace, people who believed in her vision even when the world doubted Marcus's calling. Thank you, she said, voice steady. This center is more than bricks and mortar. It represents our community's collective commitment to education, to lifting every child beyond the constraints of circumstance. When I began as a librarian, I dreamed of a place where every child could discover their potential. Today, that dream becomes reality. A little girl in the front row raised her hand. Elara knelt to meet her eye to eye. Yes, she prompted gently. Will there be story time? The girl asked, her wide eyes shining. Elara smiled, reaching into her bag and pulling out a well-loved picture book. Every day, my dear. I promise you stories, adventures, and the chance to imagine a world beyond these walls. Laughter and applause filled the room. Mayor Adebanjo stepped forward again. Mrs. Ojo, on behalf of Lagos State, it is my honor to present you with the key to this center. He handed her a ceremonial key, an oversized golden token engraved with the center's name. Elara accepted it with a gracious curtsy. As she held the key aloft, flashbulbs popped. Among the photographers was Adebola, her longtime friend, who caught her eye and gave her an approving nod. After the ceremony, volunteers flocked around Elara, offering congratulations. She moved through the crowd with genuine warmth, pausing to hug the janitor who'd cleaned the old building, to pat the shoulders of mothers who had donated their time and money. Each interaction reminded her of why she had persisted through disappointment and betrayal. In a quiet corner, Kemi approached, offering her a glass of water. You've done something incredible, she said softly. People are calling this the Ojo miracle. Elara shook her head, smiling gently. It wasn't just me. It was all of us, teachers, parents, volunteers. We built this together. Kemi studied her, admiration shining in her eyes. You've shown the world what true leadership looks like, humility, integrity, and unwavering dedication. Elara glanced toward the doorway, where a lone figure lingered, Marcus. He stood among the edge of the crowd, hands shoved into his pockets, eyes fixed on her. Their gazes met, and for a moment, time stilled. Elara offered a small, courteous nod. Marcus hesitated, then turned away. Later, as dusk settled, Elara walked the empty halls of the center. The morning's energy had given way to serene silence. She pressed her hand against the cool wall, imagining children's laughter here, learning, growing, thriving. She felt a surge of quiet triumph. In this new chapter, she was not defined by her marriage or by Marcus's fall, but by her own vision and resilience. Across town, in a modest apartment they once shared, Marcus sat alone, consumed by regret. But for Elara, this was only the beginning. Her rise was not about reclaiming a husband's love, but about fulfilling a promise to her community, and in doing so, rediscovering her own strength. __. The night air in Lagos was thick with humidity as Marcus wandered the streets, unshaven and unshackled by political pretense. Neon signs flickered in the distance: 24-hour internet cafe, late-night suya, wedding chapel, open 24/7. Each sign felt like a mocking invitation he could no longer accept. His pockets were empty, his campaign car, unpaid for, had been repossessed. He carried only his phone, silent and cold, and a single leather satchel containing the documents Selena had left behind, bank statements, contact lists, and her final, scathing letter exposing every secret she had weaponized against him. He sat on a low wall outside a shuttered suya stand, half-eaten skewer in hand, juices dripping onto his fingers. The spicy meat that once tasted of home was now bitter. Each chew reminded him of stale promises and his own complicity. A street vendor swept past, rattling mango carts and calling out, "Fresh mangoes. Sweet, ripe mangoes." Marcus swallowed and shook his head, pushing the vendor away. He felt the weight of solitude, the absence of Elara's calming presence, the empty echo of rooms they once shared, the hushed corridors of the campaign office now abandoned. A soft chime came from his phone. A message. His heart thudded. Could it be Elara? He unlocked the screen. A single line. "Please don't come to the center tonight." No signature. No explanation. Just a request. His chest tightened. He stared at the message, water pooling in his eyes. He answered. "I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm sorry. Please let me speak." Minutes passed. Then, "Not tonight." He swallowed, tears blurring his vision. He typed again. "I'll wait as long as it takes." He stood, brushing dust from his trousers, and began walking, no destination, just movement. Each step felt like penance. He passed karaoke bars where lovers belted out ballads, night markets where street children laughed as they chased stray footballs. The city pulsed with life that he no longer felt part of. Eventually, he arrived at the steps of St. Agnes Church, where he and Elara had married. The doors were closed, but a small light glowed from a side window. He slipped inside quietly. The wooden pews were empty, the air smelled of incense and old hymnals. He knelt at the altar rail, head bowed. "God," he whispered, voice raw, "I know I deserve nothing. But I need strength to make this right." He remained there long after his prayer ended, words caught between repentance and longing. When he finally rose, tears tracked down his cheeks. The man who had once captivated crowds with stirring speeches now found his voice lost within these silent walls. Outside, the dawn approached. Marcus lingered a moment longer, then stepped into the pale light of morning, alone but determined, if only to face the consequences of his choices. Back at the Ojo Community Center, Elara finished locking up for the night. The echo of her footsteps in the empty hall was like a gentle metronome guiding her through routine: switch off lights, secure doors, straighten discarded papers. She paused before the bulletin board where community announcements were tacked: after-school tutoring, Saturday story hour, volunteer sign-up. She brushed her fingers across the paper edges, a sense of fulfillment warming her heart. As she reached for her bag, she noticed a crisp white envelope slipped under the door, a contrast against the dusty welcome mat. Elara paused, heart fluttering. She bent down, picked it up, and saw her name written in neat cursive: Elara Ojo. No return address. Inside, she found a single sheet of paper, Marcus's handwriting instantly recognizable. My dearest Elara, I have no right to ask for your forgiveness. I betrayed you, shattered our vows, and dishonored the trust you placed in me. Yet, even at my lowest, I cannot ignore the light you brought into my life. You were my strength before the world noticed me. You saw my soul when I was still a teacher in a crowded classroom. If you can find it within yourself, I beg you to read this letter and consider my plea. I am at St. Agnes Church every morning at dawn, seeking to understand the man I've become and learn how to rebuild what I destroyed. I know you said not tonight, but if, in your mercy, you choose to meet me, I will wait until you decide I am worthy of forgiveness. Yours always, Marcus. Elara's pulse raced. Memories flooded her mind, Marcus teaching grammar, his gentle reassurance after a hard day, the way he whispered love in her ear that first dawn. Her eyes blurred with tears. She folded the letter, pressing it to her chest as if to feel his voice. Yet she hesitated. The distance between them was not only physical but spiritual, a chasm carved by ambition, betrayal, and public humiliation. Could she trust the man who had sold her off for power? Could she allow herself to hope again? She slid the letter into her bag, voice caught in her throat. The community center's lights flickered off behind her as she stepped into the cool night air, the letters weighed a testament to a choice she had yet to make. Days passed without a word. Marcus's messages went unanswered, his prayers in the empty church felt like echoes in an empty tomb. Meanwhile, Elara focused on her work, opening new reading corners in underserved neighborhoods, organizing literacy workshops, and mentoring young women in leadership skills. Each success filled her with quiet joy, a reminder that her worth was never tied to a husband's approval. One afternoon, as she supervised volunteers painting a mural of children reading under a baobab tree, a familiar voice called out, Elara! She turned to see Dr. Tend Iadil, her old colleague and friend, approaching with a broad smile. Tall, scholarly, with gentle eyes behind round glasses, Tend carried 2 cups of cold water. I thought you might need this, he said, handing her a cup. It's scorching today. Thank you, she replied, taking a grateful sip. How are the new community health classes going? They're a hit, Tend beamed. I've never seen so many eager faces wanting to learn about nutrition and hygiene. Your partnership with the health board has been transformative. Elara smiled genuinely. It's a team effort. They moved to sit under the shade of an acacia tree. Tend studied her thoughtfully. You're radiant, he said finally. I know these past weeks have been hard. But you're thriving. She regarded him, surprised by the warmth in his tone. I'm finding my way. He nodded. I've always admired how you rebuild, how you inspire others. Have you considered expanding your model to other states? She's laughed softly. I have, actually. But I'm wary of overstretching. Tend leaned forward. Let me help. I have contacts in Abuja, we could pilot a program there next month. Her heart lifted, not from hope of romance, but from friendship grounded in mutual respect. That would be wonderful. They spent the afternoon planning, laughter punctuating discussions of logistics and outreach strategies. For the first time, Elara felt a lightness where heavy regret once weighed her down. As the sun dipped low, Tend stood. I should go, clinic rounds tomorrow. But listen, Elara, if you ever need someone to lean on, I'm here. She met his gaze. Thank you, Tend. That means more than you know. He offered a warm smile before walking away. Elara watched him go, aware of a new chapter unfolding, one where her identity was defined by her impact, her integrity, and her choice to move forward on her own terms. That evening, she returned to the center and pinned a new flyer to the board, Leadership Workshop, Women in Community Development, April 30th. Below it, she scribbled her name and contact number. She stepped back, satisfied. The center's future shimmered with possibility, powered not by ambition for fame, but by genuine service. A gentle breeze stirred the bougainvillea outside St. Agnes Church as dawn approached. Marcus arrived before first light, stepping quietly across the dew-damp grass. His satchel contained only his journal and Elara's returned ring. He had decided to leave it there, a symbol of acceptance if she never came. Inside, the church was hushed. Pews aligned like faithful sentinels, the altar stood empty except for a single lit candle. He knelt before it, words failing him once more. He touched the ring to his lips and whispered, "I am sorry." He rose as the nave doors opened. Elara stepped inside, the first pale rays of sunrise illuminating her silhouette. She wore the same simple navy dress as months before, but now her posture was one of assured grace. Their gazes met, his filled with remorse, hers with guarded compassion. "No ring," she said softly, folding her arms. "You left it." He swallowed. "I wanted you to keep it, if you wanted it." She shook her head. "That ring represents what we vowed when we didn't know the cost of ambition. I can't wear a symbol of promises broken." Marcus closed his eyes briefly, steeling himself. "I understand. But I wanted you to know, I've spent every day since losing you seeking to become the man worthy of your love, not just your support. I've helped rebuild classrooms, volunteered at the center, tried to see the world through your eyes." Elara studied him. "You built a community center in my name." He nodded. "I used the little I had left to fund the literacy program. I visited every neighborhood you named, spoke to parents, and saw firsthand how powerful your vision was." Her expression softened. "You saw what I already knew." He took a hesitant step forward. "Elara, will you ever forgive me?" She inhaled, gaze drifting to the stained glass window depicting a mother and child reading together. "Forgiveness isn't a gift, it's a journey. You've taken the first steps. But I've found my own path now, one that doesn't depend on you." He nodded, swallowing the ache in his chest. "I don't expect us to go back. I only wanted you to know that I'm no longer that man who traded love for power." She met his eyes again, a faint glimmer of the woman he once knew. "I believe you. I believe you've changed." He managed a sad smile. "Then maybe this is goodbye, for now." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small envelope. She handed it to him. "A gift for your next step." He opened it to find a letter of recommendation signed by Elara and Dr. Tend Iadil, endorsing him for a teaching fellowship at a rural school in eastern Nigeria. Below it, a note in her handwriting. "Teach them well, Marcus. Share what you've learned about integrity and service. That is how you rebuild your life, and maybe, someday, your soul." Tears blurred his vision. He folded the letter, bowed deeply, and murmured, "Thank you." Elara turned and walked toward the door. He watched her go, each step a testament to her strength and his hope. As she slipped into the dawnlight, he realized that true redemption lay not in reclaiming lost love, but in honoring her vision, serving others with humility and conviction. Alone in the silent church, Marcus knelt once more, pressing the letter to his heart. The candle flickered and went out, leaving him in soft gray dawn. Outside, the world awakened, children's laughter in the distance, roosters crowing, the promise of a new day. And in that promise, Marcus found his last glimpse of hope, a chance to rebuild, to teach, and to live a life worthy of the woman who had shown him the true meaning of leadership and love.